Right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to all of you. Welcome to Malaysian Natural Product Society, MNPS, INBIOSIS Online Forum Series 1, 2023. I'm Shazli from University Science Malaysia, your moderator for today's forum. I feel so grateful today that all of us are granted with good health, time, and have the opportunity to attend this online forum. This is the very first online forum held this year by Malaysian Natural Product Society, a collaboration with INBIOSIS, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. There will be more webinars and online forums to come, and I hope all of you will join us again in the future. Today's forum is about tips and tricks for winning FRGS grants. First of all, what is FRGS? For the first timer who applying this grant, let me introduce briefly what is FRGS. Fundamental Research Grant Scheme, or known as FRGS, is a research funding provided by Ministry of Higher Education of Malaysia. It has visions of competitive fundamental research for knowledge transformation and national excellence. The missions of FRGS to cultivate, empower, and preserve high-impact research capacity to generate knowledge that can contribute to talent development, intellectual growth, new technology invention, and dynamic civilization. As a country aspiring to become a developed country, Malaysia needs to nurture a research culture. Hence, a special fund is needed to meet the aspiration. The philosophy of the Fundamental Research Grant Scheme, FRGS, is to encourage basic research to generate new Malaysian molded knowledge that can contribute to the increase of intellectual level, the inventions of new technologies, and the nurturing of a dynamic culture in line with the national aspirations. Fundamental research is a basic research that can produce new Malaysian molded theories, concepts, and ideas for development of knowledge. This research aims to accelerate the generation of new Malaysian molded theories, concepts, and ideas that are the catalyst for the new discoveries that break the boundaries of knowledge and the innovative creation. This grant is open to full-time academic staff, professors, associate professors, senior lecturers, and lecturers who have at least a master's degree in institution. The research durations is between two years or 3 years only, and the fund applied must not exceed the ceiling fund offset of 250,000 ringgit. There are a few research priority areas that highlighted by MOH. Research, 7 research domains includes pure and applied sciences, technology and engineering, clinical and health sciences, social sciences, arts and applied arts, natural and cultural heritage, or information and communication technology. There are also 8 research clusters, include food safety and security, basic infrastructure, climate change and environment, health, education and knowledgeable civil society, national security, social and economic well-being, or frontier technologies and advanced manufacturing. Other than 7 research domains and 8 research clusters, there are 10 Malaysian Science, Technology, Innovation and Economy MICE STIL framework that highlighting 10 social economic drivers. And we also have SPV 2030, Shared Prospective Vision 2030 that highlighting 15 key economic growth activities or KEGA. Last but not least, we have 18 Sustainable Development Goals highlighted by the United Nations. More detailed information, you may refer to the latest guideline 2023 provided by KPT. All right. I will brief you the tentative event and the housekeeping rules and some reminder before we proceed with our first agenda. Today's forum webinar, we brought to you 3 distinguished speakers to share with us on their experiences of applying FRGS for the past years. We have 3 experienced panelists in our forum today. First lineup, we have Prof. Dato Dr. Ibrahim Jantan from INBIOSIS, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. We have Associate Professor Chemist Dr. Intan Safina Ismail from University Putra Malaysia. And we have Chemist Dr. Fatima Salim from University Technology Mara, UITM. They will share with us on how to craft the proposal, tips and tricks for winning the FRGS, and some challenges and ways to improve too. Our agenda today is basically we will listen to the presentation from our speakers. We will have Q&A session right after all our speakers done their writing, their sharing. Any hot burning questions the participant can type in chat box or can leave a questions in the comment section. Please mention your name, where you are from, followed by your question. We will try to entertain your questions shortly. We will have a photography session after Q&A session. Lastly, please scan the QR code or click the link for attendance form once the photo session ends. Please be reminded that the QR code and link for the attendance form are only available for 30 minutes only. All right, our first agenda. Let's move on to our first speaker without further delay. Before I pass the session to our first speaker, allow me to introduce him to the floor. Dr. Ibrahim Jantan has degrees in Bachelor of Pharmacy Honours and Master of Science in Medicinal Chemistry and PhD in Natural Product Chemistry. He is currently a professor at INBIOSIS UKM. Prior to his present position, he was a professor at Talis University, Malaysia from 2018 to 2020. He was with the Faculty of Pharmacy UKM from 1996 to 2018 and was the founding dean from 2008 to 2015. Dr. Ibrahim started his research career at the Forest Research Institute of Malaysia, FRIM, in 1986. He was the president of Malaysian Natural Product Society from 2010 to 2020, a member of the Malaysian Herbal Council, honorary advisor of the Asian Association School of Pharmacy and Malaysian focal point for medicinal plants for Indian Ocean Rim Association. He is a research advisor of Nanyang Academy of Sciences, Singapore, scientific advisor of Human Life Advancement Foundation, Malaysia, and an honorary member of the Center for Natural Product Discovery, Liverpool John Murray University, United Kingdom. He has more than 36 years of research experiences in natural products and medicinal chemistry and pharmacological activities of natural products. His research interests are identifications of natural bioactive compounds and development of multi-component botanical extracts, botanical products. He has published more than 216 papers in Scopus Index journals and has an index of 39. Without further delay, Prof, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Dr. Shazli. Let me share my slide. Yeah, let me start my presentation with quotes from Abdul Kalam, the late Abdul Kalam, on value of a paper. He said that past is a waste paper, present is a newspaper, future is a question paper. So read and write carefully, otherwise life will be a tissue paper. So if you put value, scientific value, knowledge into a paper, you can increase the value of the paper. So for today's presentation, I'm going to talk about research proposal paper. The topic or the title of my talk given to me is crafting a winning FRGS grant proposal. Writing research proposal is the beginning of a research process. Of course, you won't stop there. After you get the grant, you have to implement the project, research project, and then it have to be completed. You analyze the data, write papers, and of course, very important, you have to submit your paper for publication in journals or in other media. So to write a good research proposal requires an effective technical writing skills. You need to develop an effective technical writing skills. To develop this, you require knowledge, experience, and practice. So as mentioned by Dr. Sajli just now, FRGS is fundamental research for transformation of knowledge. is a basic academic research, to develop new ideas, theories, concepts, methods, model and process towards new knowledge development, and also to contribute towards increasing intellectual level, discovery of new technology, and enrich a dynamic academic research culture in line with national aspiration. Okay, these are scopes of FRGS. I think you can look for it in the document. Research that develops new idea, new theory, new methods, new principle, new processes. You can have many new areas that you want to come up with in your research. It can be 1, 2, 3, and so on. So of course, can be primary or secondary importance based on what you want to deal with. So research that improves current policies, existing methodologies, and existing solution model. Research that covers issues of humanity, social issues for purpose of upgrading the living values of the country, universal, and research that contributes towards national strategic agenda. Of course, the most important of the scope, especially for scientists, lab scientists, experimental scientists like us, is number one. Research to develop new ideas, new theories, new methods, new principles, and new processes. So these are the clusters as mentioned just now. We are, most of us in science are in the three main clusters, the earlier clusters, the pure applied sciences, clinical health sciences, technology, and engineering. So when you want to describe about research proposal, you have to think about, ask yourself what it is, why is it needed? Why do you want to do this research? Strictly, of course, you have to, when you want to write the proposal, you have to strictly follow the research guidelines as in document, the proposal guideline. The instruction guidelines, they are updated almost practically every year. So you have to look at it, read carefully, follow all instructions, and make it easy for the reviewer to read your grant application. This is very important. Make sure the reviewer can understand the technical writing, what you want to put forward. Research proposal should not be too broad, but sufficiently narrow and feasible. So it's 2 years, it's 3 years, so you have to make sure it fit the time frame. So, and you have to focus and address each section of the proposal clearly and concisely. So now, when you write research proposal, of course, the beginning is always very difficult. You may have a research idea, then you need to do research on the topic you have chosen, and then translate the topic into question, and then what are the hypotheses, and then you have to make sure that's not been done or carried out by other people. The topic has to be new. So that is pre-emption check. And the research design, you have to select the appropriate methods, or the methodological approach, and what are the materials, what are the variables involved, and then the procedure, determining the sample, and then also the practicality of doing research, based on the facility, based on the what you have in your facility, in your lab, and how you can network, interact with people if you come up with this study. So there are 3 essential operations to write a research proposal. One is to search for the material, and then you read the material very thoroughly, understand the material, and then make good judgment about what information that you screen, which one is useful for you, and then finally writing, ability to organize the pieces of information into a very good report, coherent report. Competent, the language is good English, good technical English, and a fine writing style. So First, the topic, when arriving at the topic. You know. Okay. You read up on this subject in references, so you need a lot of reading. Use good references, especially journals, and look for a topic that can be easily covered within the assigned limit of the grant. So, and then form hypotheses, predict from what you have read, what answers you expect to find for the major research question raised by the topic. And then you find sources, search exhaustively for information from literature. And as I mentioned earlier, you have to skim or screen through the sources, and you have to select the appropriate or relevant information to be used, and check to see if your hypothesis is reasonable. Then be ready to revise your hypothesis to conform to whatever information on the skimming reveals. So, title or purpose research is very important. You look at the title, and if it's not fundamental, then it's applied, they will reject your proposal right away. So you have to make sure the title, a good English and good grammatically correct, clear, informative, and also should reflect fundamental research, also reflects the research cluster you have chosen, and also issues to be studied. Based on new idea, theory, principle, technique, it can be either 1, 2, 3, or more. Yeah? Whether you want to, the novelties based on the technique, mechanism, or the theory, and so on. So, and then certainly focus with clear purpose. Should not be superficial, and that it should be deep. Go into the detail about the subject. So cover the scope study should lead to new theory, new concept, new idea generation is what you expect. Expectation of the research. And of course, very important, should not indicate applied research. Generally, you should avoid using the following terms: development, design, preliminary research, application of. These are all fundamental terms. So avoid unnecessary words, redundancy. You don't have redundancy, like they say, research on, fundamental studies on, investigation on, all these problems of. So examples of project titles, because you have many titles that you can refer to. These are some titles that based on my previous FRGS grant. Palm oil tocotrienol isomers effect on glucose-stimulated insulin secretion pathway in pancreatic isolated isolates. Philantin from phyllanthus hymerus effects on LPS-induced pro-inflammatory responses in U937 macrophages. They are downregulation of NF-kappa B MAPK pathways. And the most recent, the dual targeting of natural immunomodulators, inhibition of SARS-CoV-2 replication and host dysregulated inflammatory pathway. So you look at the title, these are very fundamental, mostly mechanistics, mechanistics, and my interest is more towards looking at the mechanism of actions of natural products, especially, and how it interacts with the active site receptors to produce the pharmacological responses. So, and keywords, of course, this is not difficult for you to do. Come up with many keywords that is, of course, have to be specific to the study and have to avoid generic words. You have to use very specific to the scope of your study. And the words should be important ones, not in the title. Of course, I think this is just like writing paper, research paper in a journal. So you need to choose the right keywords. So that's easy for people to access for computer search. And also remember, avoid words that indicate is applied. The work is not fundamental. So elements and abstract, these are also very important because usually the first section part that will be read by the reviewer will be the abstract or the summary, executive summary of your proposal. So the purpose of study, the problem statement, hypothesis, research question, objective, and then the methods used, model organism or system, and then the results, expected results, including specific data, explanation of how the proposal will address the needs shown in the problem statement, benefits that will be realized if the proposal is accepted, the clear information about who will benefit and how they will benefit from the proposal, and then the conclusion, very important conclusion that follows from the experiment. Okay, in the FRGS, you have this section. They want you to write 300 words of executive summary of research proposal. As mentioned, you need to include all the problem statement, objective, methods, expected outputs, and significant output from the research project or the conclusion. So a clear, concise, precise executive summary of less than 300 words. So research scope should be appropriate, not limited, or too broad and ambitious. So it's 2 years, 3 years, so you have to make sure it fits at the time frame. Very fast, I just like to show you how some examples, how we write research executive summary. You have to start with the problem statement, followed by objective, methodology, expected output, and remember, I've seen some proposals. They have very long problem statement and very brief write-up on the methods, especially because you want to see the method. Yeah? Because for the proposal, a method is very important for the reviewer to look at. Yeah? And problem statement, maybe just a few lines, maybe 2, 3 sentences is enough, and then objective and expected output. You look at the problem statement, you have to mention what are the research problems, what are the research gaps, yeah? What are the present scenario, what that you want to do that need to be solved. What is the hypotheses, problem statement, all that should be briefly stated there, problem statement. And the objective, methodology, of course, briefly describe, the highlight the important steps, methods you want to use, expected output, and finally the significant output. What can it contribute to the nation, especially now people are looking at economic impact or what benefits it do to the economy of the country. So you need to write in a way that is in line with the expectation. Okay, research background. It is actually elaboration of the executive summary. Includes problem statement, hypothesis, research question, literature review, relevance to government policy, and references. Problem statement has to be mentioned clearly. What's lacking in previous works that requires this research to be conducted. So you have to make sure the references, previous, it is good if you can refer to your own work, continuation of your work, references to justify why you want to do this work or this research. The research questions, hypotheses have to be described meticulously. Research question objectives should be synchronized. Yeah, they have to be in line or synchronized, correlated or related, and to emphasize how the project relates to national priority area, and ethical issues, of course, is important. If there is, should be stated. So what is research question? I think this, most of you are very familiar with this. You have to start with the problem statement. What is the problem? So there's no problem, there's no research question. What's the point for you to do research? So you have to know what is the problem. Research usually starts with a problem. The first step before you begin writing a research proposal is to formulate a research question. From a problem statement, you come up with a research question. A research question statement that identify the phenomenon to be studied. For example, what are the structure requirements, curriculum analogs for development into immunomodulating agents? Yeah. Question, objective, hypothesis provide a specific risk statement and clarification of problem statement and research question. So, yeah, this is long, bit long problem statement. This, as mentioned just now, the problem, what's the problem? The research questions that arise from this problem statement. In this case, for example, COVID-19. It's a big problem, and people are looking for medication for treatment. There's a lot of work being done, a lot of drug repurposing and so on. So there's no effective antiviral drug at this moment. So hence intensive efforts are needed to come up with this antiviral, anti-inflammatory drug against COVID-19, right? And then you justify why you need to use natural products, natural immunomodulators, because it has potential to develop as an agent for treatment COVID-19 and so on. And then hypothesis. This hypothesis, of course, you know, is a tentative assumption. What is going to happen? What you expect to occur? Tentative assumption made in order to draw out and test its logical or empirical consequences. Should be very specific, limited to the prior piece of research in hand, because it has to be tested. If hypothesis is something in future, you need to test it whether your hypothesis is right, or maybe you need to change. Relook at the hypothesis later because it doesn't fit what you have expected. The role of hypothesis is to guide the researcher by delimiting the area of research and to keep him on the right track. So hypothesis, because you can write a statement like this, for example, taking into account on the existing scientific reports about the antiviral immunity properties of natural product, the following hypotheses are proposed. So what you expect to come up with if you succeed in doing the research. For example, in this study, natural product modulators can strongly inhibit SARS-2 replication by suppressing the RNA polymerase and ACE2 cellular receptor binding in Vero E6. All these hypotheses have to be based on literature facts, what have been done before and published and so on. That is already some of them has already been established, but more information need to be looked at or researched on to get a better understanding or deep understanding of what is going on in the area. So, and then to develop a strong research question from your idea, you should ask yourself these things. Do I know the field and its literature well? What are the important research questions in my field? What areas need further exploration? Could my study fill a gap, lead to greater understanding? Has a great deal of research already been done in this topic? Has this study been done before? Is there any room for improvement? Is the timing right for the question to be answered? Is it a hot topic, hot property? Will the result of my study lead to publication? Of course, this is very important. So you can see the potential of your work to publish in high impact factor journal. And most importantly, will my study have significant impact on the field? So these are things that should be in your mind, linger in your mind. You actually ask all these questions, yes, before you proceed with the study. So research questions, yeah, of course, again, I'm referring to my recent work. What are the research questions based on the problem statement? In this study, the following research questions are raised. So how potent will be the antiviral activities of the plant cyclic metabolites, and what are their molecular mechanisms of action, and so on. There are many questions you can ask based on, of course, have to be based on facts, based on literature to support what you have proposed. The problem statement, of course, based on previous studies and so on. So then the literature review and references. Literature review is very thorough review of previous works. You have to cite as many as possible relevant references and also provide critical analysis of literature. It's not only narrative. Yeah? You have to critically analyze, leading to why you want to carry out this research or why you come up with this proposal. And then it's good to include figures and 1 or 2 figures to illustrate the complex ideas. This will to make your proposal looks deep and complicated, yeah, just to impress the reader. So most of the references have to be recent and updated and published in the last 5 years. Of course, most of it to be very recent, and you can have a few flagship references that you need to include. That's okay, but of course, most of the references have to be most recent. So literature review should raise the research problem. Of course, you have to relate it to research problem, and then formatting references the text follow the guideline. And just to show you an example of a figure about a dysregulated inflammatory pathways in COVID-19 to show you what are the pathways being dysregulated leading to cytokine storm and so on. So the literature cited website, of course, is not appropriate, cannot be the primary sources, because some of them are just false, no scientific backing and so on. So list all the literature cited in the paper of a particular order or by the numbers, or by first author and so on. It's just like how you write a research paper according to the format, journal format. Most references have to be recent and updated, mentioned at least 5 years old. And you are citing an online journal, use a journal citation. Okay, then research objective. Objective should be measurable, linked to the fundamental nature of the research. And there should be an appropriate number of objectives, not too many, maybe 3, 4. Yeah? And recommend you start with the sentence to investigate, to assess, to determine, evaluate, and so on. Not recommended to characterize, to measure, to develop, to study research gap. And as objective research, as mentioned, can be 1, 3, 4, and so on. Can start to perform, to carry out, to investigate, to evaluate, and so on. And you describe it clearly. Yeah? Example, number 1, to perform virtual screening of 65 natural quantitatively, mention if possible. Natural immunomodulators for selection of compounds with potent antiviral activity on the SARS CoV-2 spike glycoprotein, and so on. You mentioned about the cell you want to use, example, to investigate antiviral effects and mechanism of selected natural immunomodulators against SARS-CoV-2 replication Vero E6 cells. Now, study design, experimental, or the methodology, explain the main research paradigm and approach, have to be qualitative and quantitative to be used in the study. Discuss how and where the study will be conducted in detail, including the instrument, because they, as you know, when you write a methodology, the reader may want to repeat your work, and so we have to write it in a way that is not too detailed, but make it easy for the reader to understand and repeat if he's interested to do. So it is not a step-by-step description of everything, nor it's a method section, a section of instruction. In particular, it's not supposed to tell a story. Yeah? So the English has to be technical English. Objective is to document all procedures, specialized materials, instruments, so that another individual may use some of or all the methods in another study or judge the scientific merit of your work. So materials method may be reported under separate subheading. So you can have materials on its own or material methods as one, under one heading. So writing research methods, section materials and methods are not a set of instructions. To omit all explanatory information, background, describe methodology. I think all this important. Yeah, for example, the way you collect data, explain your survey instrument, yeah? Limitation of data collection, comment briefly of validity, reliability, and generalizability, highlight, and also highlight which team members responsible for each activity. If you have 6 or maybe 5 or 4, then each one of the team members have to be active participants. So their name have to be mentioned in each activity. Avoid, and also very important, avoid outsource, contract out research activities that should be performed by the team. You don't cut research grant and then you outsource all the important activities to other research groups, or outsource your work, which is not appropriate. The important or the main activity has to be performed by the research team. So do not report all well-known. I think the same thing like you write a research paper. So include references for all methods if they are not new, and so on. Positive control, negative control. Don't forget. what the controls you use, include statement on approval from ethical committee if it's required, and then include a flow chart of research methodology. Example like this, it should address all the research activities and methodology. So you mentioned, for example, in each block here, you have objective one, well, is the activity to achieve objective one, objective two, objective 3 and 4, and so on. And ethics of experimentation, you have to comply. So you do animal study, human study, you need to have an approval from ethical committee. And also a summary of IP, patent, health and safety issues involved in the project have to be declared or have to be mentioned. Authors who do not have formal ethics, review committee should include a statement that their study follows the principle of declaration of ethics. I think in FRGS, you need to come up with our local ethical committee approval if you're looking on animal or human. So written consent has been obtained from patient during clinical trial, from patient, service provider, or participant. In any research of clinical trial described in the paper. So challenges reflects on the potential challenges and barriers and proposed means to overcome the risk assessment, describe factors that may cause delay, prevent implementation project as proposed, estimate the degree of risk. So you don't put high risk, all high risk, so that it doesn't make good for your proposal. Some maybe low, most it's good you have medium and low risk. High risk is not, I suggest it's not good for you to mention, because it shows that your work is of high risk in terms of time, either technical, financial, and timing. So may not the funder may not be interested to put money on the table for you if you write this of all high risk. For example, there will be low risk in implementation of the project. As a researcher is familiar with the experimental protocol, you have worked on this for so long, so there's very low risk for this. Access to instrument and material, have a lot of networking accessible for you, all this instrument, and then all the experimental techniques have been well established in your lab. These are the Gantt chart. Duration have to be appropriate. Each activity separated in 6 months for each activity. So Gantt chart should synchronize with methodology objective. Provide key milestone, and milestone probably every 6 months related to research activities in Gantt chart. And then the research activities have to be described differently from milestones. Appropriate use of words to show completion research activity in milestone achievement. Of course, it's based on research activity. Example, you can write your work, number 1, compounds with potent antiviral activity SARS-CoV-2 selected, and then the next one, simulation of the potent compounds, or the molecular simulation, potent compounds using and molecular working has been completed, and so on. So to show that you have completed the work, you have determined what you have expect to be determined, and so on. And then expected results and outcomes, this is based on the duration of your work also. It's 2 years, 3 years. For example, you have 3 years project required to produce 1 PhD or 2 Master of Science graduates. If it's 2-year project, required to produce just 1 MSc graduate, and so on. And also impact on society, economy, and nation, emphasis on the NPA, IP, copyright, all this. These are things, this part I think is not difficult to fill in, because this is a bit generic. You can look at references of what have been written or been done by previous proposal. So as equipment indicate 3 things you have to indicate, you have to show, and you have to show that you're accessible to the equipment. So indicate access to major equipment. Because FRGS location is limited, you don't expect to purchase big equipment, major equipment. Show location of equipment, whether it's in your institution or in your collaborator institution. And also assess the equipment indicate the strength of the project leader in networking and collaboration with other institutions. Budget, of course, limit to 250,000. So you don't go for the limit if your proposal is not, I mean, appropriately doesn't need the 250,000. Yeah, if your proposal needs 150,000 a bit, don't try to put justification or anything, yeah, to make sure that the budget reach 250,000. So because each budget need to be explained and justified, and has to be realistic, and also be scheduled based on the number of years your project, and provide detailed research material to be purchased. And you want to purchase major equipment, cannot exceed 40% total budget. Provide strong justification for purchase, but I think nowadays it's very difficult for you to use FRGS grant to purchase major equipment. They expect you to have the major equipment in your labs or in your collaborators laboratory. So avoid purchase of equipment that are expected to be made available by institution. If equipment is available in institution, justify why the project needs another equipment. So thank you very much for your attention. Back to you, Dr. Shazali.
All right. Thank you, Prof. Ibrahim, for insightful sharing. It's on time. So now we move to our second agenda. Next, we move to the next speakers. Allow me to introduce our next speakers. Associate Professor Dr. Chemist Intan Safina Ismail. Ismail completed her PhD and postdoctoral studies at Okayama University and Hoshi Medical Universities, Japan. She joined University Putra Malaysia in 2005 and became the head of Laboratory of Natural Products at Institute of Bioscience in 2011-2017. She was the head of Chemistry Department, Faculty of Science in 2020 to 2022, and at the present is the Deputy Dean of Research and Postgraduate. Within the period of her affiliation to the University Putra Malaysia, she has published 198 papers up to 2022 in a reputed journals Scopus H Index with 25 and presented at international meetings as speakers, including keynote and invited speakers. She led 14 research projects and leading 2 at the moment, and more than 5 as a co-workers. 7 PhD and 13 master students have graduated under her supervision, with 4 PhD and 1 master students are currently enrolling. She co-supervised more than 50 postgraduate students. She is the editor for a few journals, including Journals of Natural Medicine Springer, review editor for Marine Biotechnology Frontiers, and specialty section of Natural Product Frontiers. All right. Without further delay, the floor is yours, Dr. Intan.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shazli. He read everything that I wrote. Word for word.
Yes.
Thank you. I would like to share my slides. Can you see it? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. Thank you very much again, Dr. Shazli, for the kind introduction. And I think whatever that Professor Ibrahim has shared is actually covered most of what is FRGS is about. So I'm going to be a little bit, at the relaxing mode. And so probably they will be overlapping of the information. So I hope whatever that we are sharing today will be of benefit to the listeners. Actually, we are also learning from this session. I'm also still learning. So I learned a lot from the talk just now. So I'm going to be talking about trick or treat. So actually, this is not trick meaning that manipu or bluffing. Is a trick of how to not manipulate things, but to attract attention. So I look at it as a Halloween. Writing FRGS. So actually proposals should be impressive. So it's like, putting on costumes. So you have a lot of people, a lot of children, probably until adults, they wear costumes just to attract attentions. So in attracting attention, you have to be clever and also, creative enough to come up with a very good costume so that you can attract the viewers. And by the end of the day, you want to have a treat, meaning that you would like to have candy. You can see at the back there is candies. So you have a costume, you have your bucket. So if you treat them enough with your costume, probably you get a treat. So how to do that? So first of all, like Prof. Abhijay mentioned, you have to start with a problem. I'm sorry to say this, but I have read a few of theses last year, 2022. And then I also saw some of the thesis. Why I'm talking about thesis is if you have experience writing a thesis, probably you'll be knowing how to write an FRGS or proposal, because proposal is just a compact of a thesis. When you want to write something, you have to come up with a problem. So what's the problem? What do you want to solve? When you thought about a problem, on the top of your mind, you have to know how to solve the problem, because you are the one who's going to propose the solutions. So when you're thinking about a problem for FRGS, you have to think about whether it is fundamental enough or not. Is it mental? Don't give you a mental problem. But you have to understand fundamental is meaning that this particular project have to be essentials to move forward to something else. So meaning that this is a basis. Without this basis, without this fundamental, you cannot move forward to apply. So actually, they tried. I'm referring to the body of whoever giving this FRGS. Actually, they tried to put a guideline and then tried to have a line between fundamental and applied. But sometimes it's murky, because some of us, we write and then we thought that it's fundamental, and then suddenly it's very subjective. They say, no, this is not fundamental, got rejected. So based on the problem at hand, you have to think whether it's fundamental to be applied or to the FRGS. Okay. So when you talk about a problem, you have to have a solutions, either one solution or many solutions. So if you have one problem, probably you can think about a solution. So you have to know hand in hand how they will go together. So by having this solution, and you have made up your mind, I have a problem, I have to put it in a statement so that people will understand that by looking at the problem statement that I wrote, people will understand what is the main problem that I would like to solve. So problem statement is the most important thing in your grant proposal. And this problem statement have to be echoed in your title. So when looking at the title, sometimes you say, what are you trying to do? Like us reading a thesis. I think most of us here are lecturers. So I know that once in a while, or at one time, we will be having, experience in reading thesis. So when you read thesis, you are trying to get whatever picture in the thesis by looking at the title. So sometimes you look at the title and you look at the content, it's not vibrating, it's not echoing, it's not, portraying whatever that is the content is trying to say. So title should be, giving the first picture of what you are going to trying to solve. So problem statement is to guide the reader or the evaluator through your proposal. So by reading the problem statement, please don't make it up into a justification. So sometimes you justify, oh, I want to do this because of that. Sometimes it's not a problem, and then we'll be asking, what are you trying to solve? You're just trying to justify what you are trying to do, not a problem statement. So you have to find words which you can attract from your problem statement and also your title into the keywords, so that when people see it, people will understand, this is the problem that you're trying to solve. And once again, I will say that you have to echo it into your title. Qui bono. Probably it doesn't sound like Italian, so sorry. But qui bono meaning that to whose benefit? Meaning that you are doing this problem solving, but to whose benefit? To yourself? In a word, Malay word, sorry, syok sendiri ke? So please, qui bono meaning that you have to do something to the benefits of probably a large community, industry not very good example probably, but you can relate community to the industry, to the government, to the profit of a whole. So to do this, meaning that you have to understand whatever is going on. Okay. Probably you'll be saying that, people will be always say it's not like it's not to invent wheel, because wheel is already there. But why not inventing a wheel, but a different wheel? Probably they have tire. Probably you'll be having invention of a wheel made out of something else. Probably a tire, but a good rubber. So you have to do improvement. If you are inventing something which is already there, you have to have an improvement. But you have to understand, by the end of the day, who's going to benefit from this? You have to have somebody who will be benefit from whatever that you are trying to solve. So problem meaning that is going to be related to somebody, to something. Okay? So from there, you have to come up with research questions. So you have solutions, meaning that you know how to solve the problem, but you have to come up with the research questions from where this research question will bring you forward to your objectives, to your milestone, blah, 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 blah. So I will show it to you. So what do you aim to answer from this problem? So you have to, from one statement, probably, this statement you can elaborate. Of course, from this one problem statement, you can elaborate it into a paragraph. Don't be too long. Don't be blah, 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 because you have your executive summary to do that. So your problem statement have to be focused. You have to hit, you aim, if like archery, you have this archery board, you have to have the aim. So by aiming at that point, you have to have questions that you have to list down. So this is what we call research question. So this research question is actually can be related to SDG. I think most of you are already familiar with SDG. So if you think, you can think about relationship with SDG is good, is very good. And then you don't have to go, like 5, 6 SDG. No, you don't have to do that. You have to be, what do you call that? You have to understand your limitation. Okay? So what you have to do is specific and original, relevant to the problem statement, complex but agreeable. Don't be too complex. Even you yourself, you can answer. Okay? Don't be too bombastic. You don't have to be bombastic words. Just do the usual words that people will understand. Researchable, meaning that something which is not, for example, I'm a chemist. I want to do something like astronaut does. That is stupid. I'm sorry to say. It's not researchable by me. But it has to be focused. But if not researchable by me, what you have to do is you have to do collaboration. We're going to go to that point. So when you propose a solution, it will lead to the objectives. So you have your research questions, from that research questions, we have to have solutions. It's not just, oh, I have research questions, I'll write research question, blah, 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 blah. A hypothesis, hypothetically, I know that how I'm going to be, what I'm going to face, and then I'm going to be having the solutions. Is it going to be success? The success is actually based on your objectives. So you have to know the justification. You have to have the hypothesis. So the objectives is actually, oh, sorry. So we're going to go to objectives. So like just I said, when you do the objectives and you found that some of the solutions you cannot do on your own, it's very impossible. For example, for myself, I do natural product chemistry. But in natural product chemistry, I do a lot of bioassays, okay? Because natural product chemistry itself, the field itself cannot stand alone. So you have to collaborate. You have to go beyond. Open your mind, open yourself, go asking, knock on the doors. Don't be shy. If you don't know, you just say you don't know, and then you collaborate. You go somewhere and then you ask for somebody, for example, Ibrahim, say, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do bioassays. You are good in it. Can you collaborate with me? So collaboration, you have to have at least LOI, letter of intent. So this is the requirement now. So don't forget about it. So I have to pinpoint. You have to know the recent FRGS eligibility criteria. So you have to know what criteria that has been given to you. It's not that you have written all this, you have put inside and then you have cracked your head and suddenly when you go inside the system, wow, I need the LOI. I don't have LOI. Now, the deadline is tomorrow. The deadline is today, actually. Next Monday, but for UPM, we need it today. So how can I get the LOI? Okay? LOI is simple, but you have a format. It has to be signed by your upper people. So you need to have a long time to do that. And you need somebody to say yes, especially industry. So you have to look into this. Please don't curb yourself by saying that you can do everything. You have to go beyond. You have to go extra miles, probably, USM, UPM, and probably you can go beyond this outside Malaysia. And then what you have to do is you prioritize the objectives. Is it a risk? Okay. For example, this is an example. 6 billion to treat smoking related illnesses. I don't know whoever smoking here, I'm sorry. Versus the 3 billion revenue from the tobacco. You want to import tobacco just because of 3 billion or you want to keep the 6 billion? Which one? So when you do the objectives, you have to prioritize which one is good to aim first, but you have to aim the objectives so that they trickle down and there are connectivity. It's not, short scenery, standalone, one by one, it's no connectivity. And you have to understand by putting the objective, you have to ask yourself whether you are, taking risk or not. How much risk? Is it high risk? High risk of what? Talent, people doing it. High risk of technical, high risk of money, high risk of time. You don't want to put yourself in, predicament. You don't want to put yourself in danger. You want to go into low or medium risk. Medium also better. Don't go up high. If you know that it's up high, you have to put disclaimer to your grant. Okay, from the objective, you can go into your methodology because you know how to do now. Okay, but as I said, when you write a methodology, please think about whether it's feasible or not. You don't, say, for example, a man proposing to a woman, oh, I will swim through the lautan api, blah, blah, blah. That is not feasible. Okay, so don't make empty promises because this is junk. So please do methodology which is feasible to you and also feasible to the people who are collaborating with you. And you go on with this methodology because you know when from the method what activities that you're going to do. These activities have to be related to the milestone. So these activities is the one that will be echoing through the costs and quotations. And don't forget, you need quotations now, okay? So quotations meaning that you don't have to go for looking. If you have time, no problem. You can go what do you call it, to the suppliers, asking them to give a proper quotations. If not, if you don't have time, what you can do is just go online, click on whatever online from the company. The company should be not company which is scammer. And so you have to go to the reliable page by the reliable companies. You know a lot of companies. You know a lot of companies who are being here in Malaysia for a long time. Sometimes we have relationship with the suppliers even. So go by that way. Take the quotations. Probably there will be a gap. There will be between the price. So you give yourself also a gap of the cost to put into your budgetary. So from here, from the activities, you can write milestones. Is it timely? Is it 2 years that you are asking? Because, FRGS only 2 years that you have. Is it feasible to do in 2 years? So whatever activities that you put, you have to have a good milestone that you can reach after 2 years. Okay, by the end of whatever that you have done, you have to put it into an infographic. Even though it's not being asked, it's good to have infographic. Infographic meaning that for yourself, you understand the flow. Okay? If you don't know, you don't understand the flow, you cannot put it into infographic. People will see it, people, what are you trying to do? As for example, this is an infographic flow. So from metabolomics data, I will analyze it and then I will go further integration. From this further integration, that is the end of 2 years. But further up, I can take it into other studies and also application. So meaning that you can refine and refine before you go up to the infographic. But if you do last minute proposal, I don't know. I don't know what to say. So, meaning, don't go by last minute proposal. One is not going to be meticulously written, meaning that grammatical errors, sentences which is like copy paste, you really, I really, it's very painful looking at the students writing copy and paste. There's no integrations, no connectivity. Suddenly you're a story about this and then suddenly a story about that. So this is also like evaluators reading. Okay, I'm one of the evaluators of the FRGS, not for KPT, but for UPM and other universities. You see, whenever there are grammatical errors and no connectivity, painful. So please don't give extra job, and also don't give negative impact for the evaluators. Okay. So what you need to have is actually outputs. Okay. So as I said, please don't go extra miles giving empty promises. So your output have to echo with your objectives. So if you have social economy objectives, it's good. SEO. If you have publication, it's good. But please don't say 10 publication of Q1, Q2. Ugh. Please come back. Stand on the ground. Think about it. Based on the objectives, can you separate the objectives? Can you separate the objective into papers? Is that okay? How many papers from the objectives that you can write? If you can write 2, good. If you can write 3, better. If you can write 1, probably people say, huh, only 1? How we are giving to you the ceiling 200,000? You want to give us 1? If you want to have patent, that will be good. Okay? Or copyright, patent is better. So you have to also have talent, meaning that Do you have talent? I'm trying to point it. We got talent. Talent meaning, you know, the master's degree, the PhD degree, probably the RA. RA is not good, but still somebody. FYP probably is not going to be in the report. FYP, no, you cannot report. You can only report master's and PhD now, but still, these FYP is final year project students will be helping them. They will be like extra hands for your master's and PhD. Probably you can think about that also. And then probably you can, you know, give a new thing. Not novel, but new. And this is not lato-lato. This is not lato-lato, yeah. This is impact. So you have your, what do you call that? Your research. What is the impact? You can impact until 3 balls. You can impact until the end, to the success of whatever that you promise. So you have to understand the impact. Okay, please, by the end of your FRGS, you have to check whether all this, we have to read, whether budgetary, V-series, 20%, how many percent, collaboration, whether the collaborator is sound enough, potential weak points, so without over-promising, is it expensive? So don't do expensive solution. Sometimes, you know, I know you want to get some money, but please don't put the budgetary is out of your control. So if it's simple problem, don't put too expensive. So, and then no evidence. So please, don't do disconnectivity between the proposal paragraph, and not to do what is available. As I said, it's already available. You have to come up with something which is new, improved. Don't do blue sky research unless you are, I think, like Einstein. You know, you are very good. You have, you know, extra mile to go. You are very good in inventing. You know how to go about. Okay, blue skies research. Okay, focus on something which is, you know, friendlier. Whatever that you are already familiar with. Okay, and please check the RMK, because they have focus. For example, now RMK 12, they have their focus. So if you know the RMK, it's better for you to write the proposal. So this is the last of my presentation. Why is he staring at you? So this is an analogy of how the evaluator will be staring at your FRGS, and how the FRGS proposal, what do you call that, applicant is cekang mata or opening your eyes, trying to finish your proposal. So you are trying to burn your midnight oil to do this. So at the end of this, I would like to just mention it to myself and advise to myself and others. If you have something that pop up in your mind, not because FRGS is open for application, please take a pen, jot down, and write a solution. Do something that you can have a flow. I forgot to pinpoint. Flowchart is very important. Don't forget about it. So make a flowchart. So you have a map of your mind, a map of this problem statement that you would like to solve. So do that. Put it in the drawer. So make it into a top drawer proposal. If you have many, do it. So when they say it's open, so you don't have to burn your midnight oil and cekang mata like this owl. With that, thank you for listening. Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.
Salam. All right. Thank you, Dr. Intan, for the insightful sharing. I think I learned a lot as well as a first-time applicant as well. So I think I learned a lot from Prof. Ibrahim and Dr. Intan just now. So I'm excited to listen to our third speakers today. By the way, keep the questions coming. We will have the Q&A session right after our third speakers. So we move to our third agenda. Now let me introduce our third speakers of today's forum. Dr. Fatima Salim graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Applied Chemistry in 2007 and Master of Science to PhD, upgradation to PhD in Natural Products Chemistry in 2012. all the way from University Technology Mara UiTM. She further works as a postdoctoral fellow at Orange UiTM from May 2013 to May 2015. Then she was offered a senior lecturer position at UiTM Dengkil. She moved to UiTM Shah Alam and served at Faculty of Applied Sciences under School of Chemistry and Environment since 2022. Appreciating her talent in her research, UiTM assigned her as a fellow researcher at Orange in 2016 until now. So Dr. Fatima as well is also a registered chemist at Malaysian Institute of Chemistry, IKM, since 2018. She's the secretary of Organic and Biomolecular Chemistry section since 2020, the examiner for Organic Chemistry LMIC paper since 2021, and the mass spectrometry course trainer of IKM. She is the international liaison head of IKM Malaysian Young Chemist Network, an active member of Young Scientist Network Academy of Science Malaysia, YSN ASM. She holds a lifetime membership of Malaysian Natural Product Society and also at the ESCO since 2021. Thus far, 1 PhD and 6 master students have completed under her supervision. She is currently supervising 4 PhD and 8 master students. Throughout her career, she has published 43 peer-reviewed manuscripts, which includes several reputational journals under Elsevier and American Chemical Society. She has 11 active research projects with total research funding almost 1 million, include 1 FRGS that she received in 2021. All right, without further delay, the floor is yours, Dr. Fatima.
Very much, Dr. Zazali, for that kind introduction. So I feel so tiny actually compared to our previous 2 speakers, side by side with them, and we are still new, progressing in our career. But I'll try my best to share with you whatever I have in my mind. Right, so I'm sharing my slide. Hope that you can see this. I put it in the slide mode first. Okay, so I didn't prepare much because this is the thing that what I have. So it's going to be a very frank, sharing. So I do hope that most can benefit from this. So of course, this is going to be in the eye of the applicant, which is me, right? Okay, let me move the cursor. Right, that's good. Right, so based on what Prof. Ibrahim and Dr. Intan have explained before, so they have their own view, the eye, how they look at the proposal itself for the FRGS. So for my case, of course, I look at the proposal FRGS going to be, it's like addressing a new ideas, concept or perception, scientific, of course. It should be attractive and convincing. So before we went to deeper, what is the idea that we want to explore, we want to express, and what we want to convince our readers and the panel as well, you need to understand the guideline. So this is very important. So you need to go through the latest guideline by the funder. This is the KPT. So this is the screenshot that actually I took from the latest one. So everything is there actually, from the the qualification of the applicants, how the the assessment will be done, and how when you got the grant, what will happen. So everything is there. Next, because this is an automatic, it is an online application, so you must familiarize yourself with the interface of MyGrant. So you need to have an account, especially for those who are first timer. So you need to have your account, and then you have that ID number inside there, and then open one by one. There you can, when you have now actually, because it's open for FRGS. So if you, I tried to log in just now, but it's difficult because I think it's a due for the FRGS grant. So the system is hanging now. So the other things that I like to share with you. So if you have to know the the template ataupun what is the header, whatever information that needed for the grant. So you have to know that. You can have your own Word document by side, but later you just can copy and paste inside the system accordingly. So that's going to ease your time. So if you are doing, you are last timer, last minute person, okay, so you can actually do it in the very early morning, for 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock. So you can just copy and paste and put everything, so the system wouldn't hang. So that is the thing. Okay, so most of the content, how the proposal is written, is already explained by Prof. Ibrahim and Dr. Intan, but this is in my own eye. So how I look at some of the important things in the proposal, right? So first thing is the project title. So it should represent the whole project. Means that what you try to explain in the executive summary, it should be in the title. So put it there. It should be catchy and include the method as well, because this is very fundamental, right? So it should also contain and explain some fundamental concept. Means that it should be some phrases, for instance, develop, formation, enhancement, and mechanism, has been explained by Dr. Ibrahim just now, should be in the title. So it's showing that the project that you try to convey to the panels now is actually fundamental. Now, for the executive summary, this is very, very important, because it's going to capture the reader or the panel. It's going to read the executive summary first. So if the executive summary convincing the panels on what is actually should be in the content, so it's going to be the first impression. Very important. So this is also actually written in the, if you downloaded the template, or you have a chance actually go through in my grant just now. So it is written, it should contain backgrounds with some idea, scenario, what is happening towards the project that you are planning to. Problem statement, because from the background itself, there must be a research gap, means that something that you want to fit in, right, based on your expertise and the idea that you are proposing. So after that, you're going to have your problem statement. What is the problem that you want to express there? It must contain also the objective, how you're going to solve the problems, research methodology step by step, and then giving out the expected output, outcome, implication, and significant, of course, like Dr. Intan just mentioned, that you didn't want to show sendiri. You want that someone or some society going to benefit on what you're trying to propose here. So, of course, as mentioned by Dr. Ibrahim just now, maximum is 300 words. So you have to arrange all the information, all of this information clearly and specifically, right? So the project should be realistic and contain, of course, the fundamental keywords, right? And actually, this is inside the guideline just now. So it should be in line with the 15 KGA. So this is the recent one I read from the, every year the government have their own priority focus. So this year is going to be the KGA, which is Key Economic Growth Activity. So you can browse through the Garis Panduan on page 9. Okay, so problem statement just now, this is very important as well, is you should address the research gap. It should be concise, clear, sounds like specific fundamental problem to be solved. Yeah, like Dr. Intan mentioned just now, it must show that you try to solve some problem. It is a problem. It look like a problem. The statement should be a problem. Okay, so from my experience, so usually it is good to have this conjunctive adverb, means that you have that, the hesitancy. So you can use the terms, the words like however, you have the idea just now, and then however, what is the problem? Nevertheless, this is happening. Unfortunately, therefore, thus, and consequently. So this is the adverb that you can use to show that there is a problem actually in the research gap that you are trying to explain just now. Okay, so next is the objectives. Of course, because when you have a problem, means that you're going to solve it through some method, some way. So that's actually expressed in the objective. Of course, it needs to solve the proposed problem. Just now, it should be smart. I think smart is everywhere. It should be specific, measurable. It is achievable, realistic, and timely. So if you are proposing to do it within 2 years, then it should be accomplished within 2 years. And if you want to do it in 3 years, of course, it should be done vice versa. And you need to choose the right verb in front of all of the objective. I think this is what Prof. Ibrahim also explained to us just now. So be realistic in doing this. Now, moving on to the research background, because there must be an overview on the project or the idea that you want to propose. Yeah, so we must have enough literature review. All the citation, it must contain more than 70%, of course, for the 5 years. I mean, recent citation, a reference that you are using. If some of the idea is actually far behind, means that you still have to use the reference that you took not 20 years ago, it's okay, but make sure the other references is also up to date. Yeah, so showing the project that you are trying to solve or you're trying to propose here is actually a current issue as well. Okay, so it also should contain all the subject in the title. Means that if you have the talking about a plant, so because we are natural products, so if I'm Uncaria, so you talk about this Uncaria, the plant species, what about it? You're going to use the concept of what, why, and how. And then if you are talking about you want to do some bio activity, so specific on that particular bio activity, so you need to give an background on that thing as well. So very important, after explaining all the subject in the title, it shouldn't be that lengthy, but it covered, it concise, and it's readable. People, the readers understand what you're trying to say or explain that. Of course, it also need to contain research gap, because throughout the all the explanation about the subject, so the storyline, how you tell the story, at the end of the paragraph, it should have that research gap, the however things, the problem, the nevertheless things, and it must have a direction, means that where this thing can go. So from there we can go to our methodology, right? So for my experience as well, I like to be means that I'm quite systematic in what I'm doing. So it's good actually if you can organize the methodology based on the objective, if it is possible, right? So it means that if first objective is you want to do some phytochemical work first, so you put the first methodology focusing on the phytochemistry work, right? And because now, if you look at the FRGS system, you need to justify each of your members that you put in the FRGS proposal. So better if you can put each of the, the subheading of the group of procedure, you can put there who is responsible to do that. So for instance, for the phytochemistry work, going to be phytochemist, which is me. And then for the biological activity, then you need to do, you need to put the responsible person, the expert in that field. So like Dr. Intan said, collaboration is very important because we cannot do all the things by ourselves. Okay. Next, it must be realistic. All the methodology must be realistic and feasible. Of course, it must be scientifically accurate, means that you have reliable references on how the experiment should be done, right? And yeah, after that, you need to provide an explainable flowchart. It's good as well if you can separate actually each of the objective based on a single flowchart and do some connection towards it until the end. So it's going to be a master flowchart showing the idea. It means that if people didn't read, if they just went into your executive summary and then they browse into your flowchart, they know that you want to do this and it is a good proposal. And if you are, good enough, you can also prepare the infographic as mentioned by Dr. Intan. Okay, and this is also important if you have, of course, I think those who are planning to apply FRGS, of course, you went into the My Grant interface just now. So you need to put the information of yourself and STPI. So for my experience as well, I think most of the time they will comment as well, because they do for the reviewer, the panels, they have a template. So they need to put mark for each of the section that in the grant itself they have. So PI credibility is also important. So make sure you do update your academic as well as your research, particularly your publication supervision. Publication is also important because they want to know that you are expert in that particular field. If you are not expert, then your member can help in that one. So we want to do things that is feasible, of course. So we need to show that you are credible in that sense. Okay. For the project duration, right? It is from the guideline, you have 2 years and 3 years projects. So for 2 years, the maximum budget that you can apply is up to 150,000. So for this one, is actually for one master student. So as the the talent outcome. For the 3 years project, it can be from 1,500, 150,000 to 250,000. So the shilling is actually 250,000. Excuse my tongue. Right. So for this particular 3 years, you can have 2 master students or 1 PhD, or you also can have a mixture between 1 master and 1 PhD. So it depends on the project. All right. So for the financial, of course, you need to understand, reading the guideline, you need to understand each of the vote, actually it has its own limitation. So you need to read this garis panduan, page 21 until 24, how you want to budget each of the budgeting things that necessary in your project proposal. So understand this one as well. For the first year, you need to spend about 60%. It should be containing 60% of the total budget that you apply. For the second year, it should be 40% of the total budget. So you do have the mathematical calculation in the interface, in the system, FRGS, migrant system, of course. But before you, key in everything inside there, you have to have your own proposals, right? To calculate this thing. Okay, so the shilling that you can pay for your GRA master is 2,000, and for the PhD is 2,500. Now balancing between the teams, this is what actually I learned, of course. So it's good to have a combination between, you have a professor, associate professor, doctors, new lecturers, and collaboration from the agency, any agency out there. Okay, so you need to specify the rule of each of the member in the migrant system. Means that if you have, you are doing each part, each procedure, or each working in the collaboration wise, so you need to specify their rule. So the review will convince actually the work is put there. And if it's necessary, you need to provide CV for each member. Okay, so this is the project that actually I got. Just to tell you, it was, I think this is my 5th attempt. So it's not easy, okay? So my first, second, third, and fourth. Okay, I have different projects. This is actually my initial project I did with Dr. Monica. So we have a small research grant from UMS. So we extended the activity towards immunomodulatory. So we need to find an expert in the immunomodulatory field. So I approached Prof. Dr. Ibrahim Jantan. Thank you very much, Prof, for improving the proposal as well. Okay, and then because I'm a phytochemist, so I don't have much idea on the immunomodulatory itself. So I invited Dr. Liu. So Dr. Liu is actually my friends in YSN. So this thing happened during COVID. So we learned a lot, exchange knowledge about immunomodulatory, and he gave me the whole idea how the system will work. Okay, so I invited him as well as part of the team. Okay, and then because the requirement, syarat permohonan, you have to read this one. You must have, if you are the PI, so you must have one of your member which is from your institute, and it should be the same expertise as you. So bidang kepakaran yang sama from the same institution to be the next appointed leader. In the FRGS system, you need to pick that. So this is the next appointed leader if something happened to you, right? You are not eligible to do, being the leader there. So actually I invited the one, because of course we are quite close, but since I realized that you need to appoint same person from the same institution. So Prof. Adiani is actually my mentor as well as my director in Aurin, so I invited him into the group. So you don't have to have many members like I have, but I have a reason why I chose this person initially into the group. Okay, so another thing is I just giving you insight on other things that required other than I forgot the term just now. You need to put the pattern search. So this is compulsory, I guess. So you need to download this letters. The letter there, you only it depends on your field. So for the natural product and the chemistry, which is science and technology, of course. So you only need to consider from 0.5 until 0.8. So put there some information that actually you can search in lens.org. So find some keywords title related to the project that you are proposing and put it there. And then this is the interface actually. And then you need to look at, you can view actually in the form of table or list. Look at there. If you have the progressive of the project is actually it's not exponential, it's going up, showing that the area that you are proposing is actually a current research, means that it's under demand. Okay, so this is the things that you can summarize to put it here in this section number 6, and you can also do a short write-up summary on how actually the pattern search showing the prospect of the proposal that you are trying to propose there. Compare between the countries, competitors, and these things. So the pattern search, actually you can search in lens.orang. So just screenshot and put it down of this document, because below this document, it is actually a word form. The other thing, this is very important because this happened to me, right? So there was some technical problem. I'm not sure whether it is me or actually internally from the universities. Okay, so after you submitted the application, it's going to went into our internal evaluation. So for our case, it's RMC. So we have to make sure that our grant and our proposal is actually progressing towards the right direction. So last time, my case, it didn't went into the IPT panel, so it blocked into the university actually. So that is what happened for, 2 times in my proposal case. So I have to look this one as well for the progress. Yeah, then actually you can view that in your my grant system. So just see that particular progress, and when you succeeded in the application, so they're going to give you this email. So greeting, telling you that you successfully got the grant. Okay, so yeah, I got the grant in 2021. Okay, with other fellow friends of UITM. Okay, and just want to remind you, everything that you got, actually it comes with a price, right? So after you get the grant, you need there will be a very tough monitoring. So you need to spend your money wisely, because every 6 months they will ask you to fill this one, the financial things, the progress, the output, and the report. So it's quite thorough. What happening now is not. It's the way they show that they really care about where the money being spent. So wisely spend them according to what we have planned before, right? So yeah, I think that's all for the FRGS. Just want to promote our event. So this coming December will be the International Conference of Natural Product ICNP 2023. So it's going to happen 11 to 13 September. So please save the date at Kuala Lumpur. So see you there. Thank you very much. Back to you, Dr. Shazli.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Fatima. And thank you very much to all our distinguished panelists for sharing with us the tips and tricks for winning FRGS grant. So I think I would like to invite all our speakers to on the screen. We will continue with our Q&A session. Now, I would like to open the screen for the question and answer session. Please type your questions in the chat box and I will read the question for you. Okay, let's see. Okay, we also have a question from Facebook. Okay, I will read first. Okay, this question from Facebook from SP Tan. He's asking, does executive summary needs to be written in paragraph? Any speakers would like to answer these questions? Probably Prof. Ibrahim?
Yeah, I already responded in the chat box. It has to be in one paragraph. In my slide just now, I put it in different paragraph just for easy explanation. But in the format or in the form, you need to have the summary in one paragraph.
Okay, I think Prof, that means executive summary, just now you mentioned during your presentation, it must contain the problem statement, the methodology, expected results, etc. So all this we need to compress into one paragraph, right? All right. Any other speaker would like to add on this? I think quite straightforward, huh?
Yeah, we agree with that, Ibrahim.
Okay. Okay, this question from Lo Kai good morning, Prof. May I know what is the recommended number of index journal publication for a 2 years or 3 years project, respectively? Yeah, I think this question referring to Prof. Ibrahim.
Yeah, I already responded to. There is no limit actually on number of journals you cite in the proposal to support your research proposal, as long as the references are relevant. So it doesn't matter whether it's a 2-year or 3-year. Of course, you have to be realistic to include citations or references based on the literature review. And literature review cannot be too long. It has to be very focused on your scope of study. I think you can say you can have between 20, 30, maybe more than that. It cannot be like writing a review article having maybe 80, 100 of references, because each reference will refer to what you need to highlight in the proposal. Because you need to, because all literature that you cite need to support your research problems, to support what you discuss in the, or you criticize, or you analyze in the literature review. So it has to have a number that is reasonable for a research proposal, as I said just now.
All right, thank you, Prof. Is it the questions actually referring to, is it based on my understanding, actually the question asking, is it a 2-year project, research project, how many journals can we produce? Is it, am I understand right? For example, if I'm not mistaken, someone told me that if you propose a RGS for 2 years, you need to publish at least, I don't know, 1 year, 1 paper, like 2 years. So 3 years, that means you need to publish like 3 papers. Is it true?
I think, yeah, you need to commit yourself to publish, for example, 2 years, maybe two papers, two papers for a 2-year project. Maybe for 3 years, maybe you get 3 to 4 papers, and you have to be Scopus Index or ISI Index. In fact, it's good also for you to mention the proposed journal that you're going to submit your paper.
All right, thank you, Prof. Any Dr. Intan or Dr. Fatima would like to add on this?
I think we want to put down how many publications that you can achieve. I think you have to go back to your objectives. So some of them, they cannot stand alone, and then there are connectivity. So meaning that you have to do objective number 1, which is connected to objective number 2. So it's not based on the number, but based on whatever objective that you put down. And I think don't be too overpromise and don't be lack of promises, because one is too lonely. So you have to go back to your problem. So you have to know the solutions, and from that solutions, how you're going to divide it. I give you an example. For example, we have done studies on neuroinflammation using rats. So we divide into looking into the subject, which is plant, and then how the plant treated the rats, which is being induced, and then we can see until the mechanism. So we can divide into 3 papers. So from that particular picture that you have, infographic, you know how many that you can write. And then sometimes, even by looking into chemistry also, that you can write a few. So how you maneuver through the solutions that you can achieve, you can. But if you put 2, for example, for safety reason, if you publish more, it's going to be extra merit for you. So no problem.
All right, thank you, Dr. Intan. Dr. Fatima, based on your experience?
Yeah, I do agree with what Dr. Ibrahim and Dr. Intan said. But from the guideline as well, they need us to publish two articles actually. One can be in WOS, Scopus, or ERA, so you can maneuver wherever you want. Okay, you can have more, but it's compulsory that you must publish at least one WOS publication. So in your in your proposal, you need to put at least one WOS index journals that related to the project that you're proposing. So where you want to find where the journal cited in WOS, actually you can go to the JCR website. So search wherever journals, because it didn't mention whether it's Q1, Q2, or 3, or 4, but as long as it is cited in WOS. So just put it there and be rational.
All right, thank you. I think this question leads to my next questions. In the applications form, it's mentioned we need to mention how many journals that we plan to publish. So and then they put like some a space for us to write down. Is it necessary or recommended to write what? Let's say we put 2 papers, and then is it necessary we put the prospect titles of the paper and then the journals that we aim to publish? Is it necessary to put that?
Not the title. You can suggest the journal that you want to submit your papers. Usually that will be sufficient. So based on previous requirement, it's just the name of the journal, as mentioned by Dr. Fatima just now, whether it's Scopus Index or ISI or WOS Index. Title, I don't think they need you to, because it's also difficult for you to come up with a title because you have not done the work yet, right? So I think it's sufficient to write the proposed journal that I'd like to submit your work or your research output later.
All right. Any additional comments from Dr. Intan and Dr. Fatima on this?
We understand that we have to put the title of the journals now. There are, a space there. So I think it's better for us to go back to whatever that we're familiar with. So now, if we have published in a journal that we are familiar and then we have done with experience, it's good to put it there so that we know how they will be evaluated and then we know what kind of paper that they would like to see. So I think don't go beyond, for example, put Nature. Supposing which is you are okay with. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to be realistic, of course, because again, this is a proposal. So they want to know actually your direction. Where are you planning to publish? And then if you are aiming awards journals telling us that the quality of the work is actually up to the standard. Yeah.
All right, we take note on that. And we move to the next question. Is it choosing the right research domain may influence our grant proposal evaluations? I think we go with Prof. Ibrahim first.
Yeah, of course, you have to make sure you choose the right research domain. If it is, let's say the thrust or the major area of your research is health sciences, then you choose the basic sciences, so that is not appropriate. You have to make sure, because of course research is multidisciplinary, you have to identify your thrust area and choose the domain based on the thrust area that you like to be in or propose in your project. So you just cannot, but from based on experience, some areas, that's what they say, some areas much easier to be successful application compared to some other research domain. Maybe because of its competitiveness, and also depends on the reviewer. If you send your just let's say you are basic science. Or you are a basic science scientist, you propose a lot of chemistry, and then you place your domain in health sciences. Then the person is going to evaluate you medical, pharmaceutical sciences. So most probably they may not appreciate your work that much. So low priority. So if it's your major area or the main area of your proposal is, let's say, in chemistry, so it should be basic science. Although you have some bioassay to look at anti-diabetic effect, things like that, this is not the main activity in your proposal. So go to the basic science. So you have reviewer who is in your, hopefully to be in the same area that you're in, so they can understand your proposal better, and then will value your work or your proposal, and give you appropriate recommendation for proposal.
All right, Prof. Dr. Intan or Dr. Fatima would like to add on this?
I think yes, the domain is choosing the domain is very, very important. There are some instances that people change domain because of the percentage success of success. They keep going into, for example, medic people, they change into a less medical domain, they go into sciences, and they got the grant. So I think it's good if you understand what you are doing, but don't go and choose domain which is not related at all. So you have to really know the content, and also the choosing of the domain is not going to put you off from the group of evaluators. Okay, because evaluators going to be based on the domain. So they give us the grant, a grant proposal based on the domain. So for example, SNT, they will be given to SNT people. So if it's not going to the right evaluator, probably they don't understand, they put it away.
Understand? Dr. Fatima?
I second both what Dato and Dr. Intan said. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, I do agree with that. Like us, like most of us are chemists here. I think the most appropriate research domain probably pure and applied sciences out of the 7 domains that provided. We have technology and engineering, clinical and health sciences. The rest are on the social science and art sciences or ICT. I think these 3 domains probably relatable to our course, maybe. All right. We move to the next questions. This question from Dr. Murni. To have IP as one of the KPI is quite tough. Shall we avoid this KPI, or we should try our best to have IP as one of the KPIs? So who would like to answer first?
Tell you the truth, I mistakenly switched IP and PI. Sorry. No, because I read it very fast, so I thought IP and PI. So don't worry. I just want to support what Prof. IBJ have written. Yes, IP is actually not a must. It's a merit actually. I see it as a merit. If you are doing something which is like engineering, and you understand that by the end of the day, you know you will be getting patent. Or mathematics, for example, formulation, and then you can patent that particular work. It's good. If you can declare that you want to do patent. But for example, for myself, natural product chemistry, it's not that easy to come up with patent. So I'm not going to put patent as my what do you call that, pencapaian or my achievement. So, but in doing this, actually one of the grant have led me to a patent. So that is a merit. So that's also a merit to student, because in UPM a patent is equal to a paper. So it's good. So it's a win-win situation to yourself and also to your students.
I think in fundamental research, the chance for you to come with an IP is very, very little. I think for a 2-year, 3 years project, and doing nature products research towards drug discovery or herbal medicine, I should say almost a tall order. It's not possible. So better not to promise, yeah, because when you promise, you have to achieve it. It's a failure, you can't achieve it. So I think for fundamental research, your target priority should be publication of your work in high impact factor journal, because your work is fundamental. The science is very deep, yeah, and you want your work to be read. People, your peers internationally. So IP sometimes is local IP, so it doesn't have much use. Sometimes you can see the scenario, what's happening. People are patenting for what reason? Just for, sometimes it's just half-baked output. It's not completed, just an in vitro data. People go for IP for what reason? Because to protect your work so that other people may not continue or copy your work. I think at present, as based on my years of experience, IP, of course, is beneficial, but for a reason. It's not just for the sake of for your KPI, but that is not useful at all. So I think as a scientist, let's aim for publication first. Establish yourself to make yourself scientifically visible, publish yourself in journals, and then IP to me is just something as a bonus. And not if your IP doesn't give you any commercial benefit, so just forget about it. It's my personal. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Fatima would like to add on this.
Yeah, because usually we need to fill that section right. So to be wise, you just put copyright. So copyright is quite feasible for us, yeah, because in your problem statement you have a new idea. You're supposed to have a new idea to get there, and then you can, get some what kind of IP title that you can put there to propose, but that is only for copyright. I also agree with Dato and Dr. Intan. It's quite impossible for us to get the patent, but yeah, if you just want to comply to the requirement, that you can put copyright.
All right, thank you. I think to add on this, I think under IP actually we have 4 types of IP. One is the highest one is the patents. Second one is if you're doing something innovations on your existing process or whatever, actually you can go opt for the utility innovation, which is that some parts of it you do some improvement. And then the third one you can go for copyright, and the fourth one you can go for trademarks. So let's say if you do collaborations with industry, and then you get the letter of intention from industry, probably you may probably the industry would like to know about this as well, whether there's a potential commercialization of your fundamental research or whatever. So probably you can look for on this as well, or otherwise, like Prof. Ibrahim said, just now focus on publishing at high impact journals to make sure that you establish a very strong fundamentals of your research. All right. Now we move to our next questions. This is also from Dr. Murni. Talking about budget, shall we push the budget to the highest amount ceilings? Now we're talking about 250,000. Or we need to lower the amount so we can get better change to win the grant. Is it there's a evaluation on this high or low amount of requests of budget? Is it going to affect our evaluation?
Yeah, I think budget has to be realistic, because it has to be based on the expenditure. Yeah? So all expenditure needs to be explained and justified. So you cannot just put 250,000 and then you put you place it everywhere, mark up the amount that you want to spend, because people evaluate especially those in the ministry level. They are very experienced, so they know that, for example, research material, you are doing a certain essay, and then you put up until 150,000 for it, and then they know that essay won't cost you more than 50,000. The same thing on like very standard, for example, traveling, publication. So it's very how can you let's say you want to put the maximum amount, 250,000, but you cannot justify it in your proposal, so you can't. and very few that for 2 years project, it can go to 100,000 plus. Yeah, but for 3 years, you can go to until 200 something. But very rare they give you 250,000, maybe less than that, maybe 230,000. But all has to be justified. You have to be explained in detail. So US cannot and also cannot be too modest. Which means if you ask for too much, maybe they won't give you. But if you propose based on what you need and justify everything, then I think there won't be any problem.
All right. I think to add on this, based on your experience, the amount that you requested before, the one and the amount that you got is it similar or they will slash out? Based on your experience.
Usually they slash out a little bit, but if you are very familiar with the work, yeah, and you establish yourself already in the area, usually the reviewer won't slash that much, a little bit. Usually won't get the amount that you ask for. They will slash a little bit here and there, but not much. We won't give you more, of course. If you ask for 150,000, they won't give you 160,000. so it's better to ask for more, but based on what you need, yeah. So then you get the amount. But if let's say your budget is for the project is 200,000, but they give you less, so it'll be difficult for you to perform to run the experiment later on. So you have to make sure that the amount that you ask for, you get it, plus minus a little bit.
All right, Dr. Intan or Dr. Fatima, like to on this?
Don't put off the evaluator by putting unrealistic number to the budget, because you have to understand evaluators are those in your field, so they know what you are trying to put in the budget. And now we have to specify, especially especially on the consumables and also professional services. So we need to have specific quotations even for analysis. So you cannot go beyond that. And also it's good if you put up to the ceiling, if you can do that, because it is a history of always going to be slashed down. Is always like that, and we don't know that is at the evaluator level, but when it goes to KPT, we don't know also whether it's going to be slashed down a bit more or it's going to be, increased. And then another thing is, please look at the objective that you have put. So you have to be, justifiable to the budget that you do ask for. And so I think it's good if you don't go beyond and then put not too low, because you know that the way that they're slashing down. But if you are okay, you put it, as acceptable amount, then we are not going to change anything, especially to the budget.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Intan. Dr. Fatima?
Yeah, I think I'm quite lucky because the one that I applied, not single cent been slashed out. So I got the exact amount. Yeah, but I did learn actually, as what Dr. Ibrahim and Dr. Intan said, you need to be realistic, means that you need to get the survey. If you want to go to international, means that conference international, you need to survey the ticket, where the location of the conference. You need to be more specific. So they wouldn't slash actually, because they know that you are frank in telling things. So itemize everything. If it is justifiable, they will give it. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I think to add on this, I think I got some information while preparing the proposals, especially on the budgeting. They were informed actually especially on the consumables. They said like if you got time, you can ask from 3 different quotations from different suppliers, and actually you compare the prices, and then the one that you propose in the budgeting is actually you take the middle one, the not too high and the medium price. So let's say if your budget been slashed out, actually you still can go for the lowest, I mean the cheapest price of your materials, and then you can still go for the research. Yeah, that's, I think the tips that I got, I think quite beneficial. All right. Do we have questions? Okay, we have questions from Nurul Shazini. Is it possible to propose 2 master students for a 2-year project? We know that 1 master's for 2-year project. Now she's asking, is it possible to have 2 masters for 2-year project? I think relate to the budget later, right?
I think the guideline is already being given. So it's based on the budget. So it's based on that budget of how many that you can take.
I think the ceiling for to pay for the stipend of student, I think for masters, I think 2,000 or 1,800.
1,800. So you need to times 2, see what is left for the other material.
So I think for stipend, you can go maximum 42,000 per year for master, I think.
There is also percentage, sorry, there's also percentage on the budgetary. So you cannot hit more than that percentage given. For example, consumable, how many percent, and then professional services, how many percent, and then the salary, how many percent. So you have to be in that particular percentage. So don't go beyond, because you see, this is for me, capping on everything. If you write something which is very simple, even the format, okay, for the evaluators to pick on, they just pick on and put it aside. So you don't have to do that to yourself. Don't torture yourself. So if they give you 20%, don't go beyond that. If you do it beyond that, they will take it as a point of putting it aside, not evaluating it anymore. So go by the rules, go by the criteria and the format.
All right, you shall take note on that. And we move to the next question from Chadini Menon. Are there any tips to help in making clinical-based studies to suit the fundamental aspect requirement of the FRGS grant? Okay, who would like to take this question?
This is a very difficult question to respond to answer, because if you look at the scope of FRGS, you will look at scope number 2, to improve current policies, existing methodology, and existing solution model. I think clinical research can the scope maybe around this area of focus. But of course, the strategy that you need to have in writing research, fundamental research proposal, first is you need to highlight the fundamental of the student, the fundamental, the sciences of the proposal. Although you want to do clinical studies, because clinical studies are mostly applied. Yeah. So if you, in the proposal, if you focus or the write-up is based or more around the clinical studies, then it won't be fundamental anymore. So what you need to do is highlight the fundamental aspect of your work. Sometimes it's a strategy whereby getting the grant is one thing, but doing the project is another thing. You know what I mean? Your work is more of clinical based, but you want to get the money from fundamental based grant. So what you need to do, you need to orientate the proposal in a way it looks fundamental. So you highlight everything that's fundamental in your proposed studies. Let's say you may include the genomic, proteomic, metabolomic, for example, component, pharmacokinetic, pharmacodynamic aspect of it. Highlight this and make this as the major activity of the proposal. but when you get the money, you can do clinical studies based on, of course, they propose. You cannot be run away from what you have proposed before, but this is all about getting the strategy to get that fund money. So that's the only thing that I think you need to do or need to that I can suggest. And also maybe what you can do, you can send your proposal to a basic scientist doing basic sciences. They can help to suggest for you to highlight some aspect, to focus on aspects of your proposal. You don't send your proposal to another clinical scientist, because the way they think will be the same. But send it to somebody doing experimental science, and because he may look at different perspectives, so we make you do some suggestion how to rewrite your proposal in such way it looks very orientation is more towards fundamental science. So that is the advice I can give.
Any additional comment from our speakers? If not, we move to the next question. All right, the next questions. May I know the expectation from the panel on the risk assessment plan? This one from SP Tan from Facebook chat. Then asking about risk assessment.
I've already mentioned my slide just now. You cannot put all at high risk. If you say the project is at high risk, the chances technically in terms of monetary high risk, success rate high risk to be a failure, then it's not good for the proposal, because of the funders mentioned may not want to put their money on the table for you if you are not, the chances for you to the project to be a failure, high risk, a lot of problems and so on. So I think that it's much better for you to put it on a medium, low risk, if possible to be low risk, but make sure have to be realistic lah. Jangan you put if it is high risk, if it's medium risk, you put low risk, and maybe you put don't put high risk for no reason. Put maybe 2 low risk and 1 medium risk. Kalau yang paling baik semua low risk lah. It also depends on everything depends on your background. You have, let's say you are very familiar in the area, you publish a lot of work. Your labs are established, you have a good networking, everything. So all will be low risk. Tapi masa COVID-19, so will be a lot of medium risk, right? Sometimes you cannot go to the lab, and so all have to be considered. But never put all high risk. Kalau high risk, then chances they won't give you the money. Because semuanya berisiko tinggi,
Takut lah.
Feasible.
All right, I think okay, we move to the next question. I think talking about budget, if the budget is slashed down but we success to get it, can we drop down certain objectives to be fit with the current budget? This question from Nur Hanani from Facebook.
We can do that, but it's we don't know whether it's going to be acceptable by the government, by the KPT or the evaluator. Yes, we can do with justification. There are some have been done because when the budget is being slashed, meaning that we cannot achieve the objectives. Yes, we can, but we have to do a very good justification for asking to reduce the objective. But most of the time, the objectives stay.
Yeah, and to add on, actually, they're going to ask us to rebudget. After you get that amount, you need to do rebudgeting. So you don't have to worry about that. As long as you penetrate, get the grant, the rest of it going to be the other story.
All right, I think sounding clear about this. I think that's all the questions that we have. Dr. Fatima did some put some information there about the budgeting. Okay. All right. We're going to closing remarks. We have come to an end of our forum. I would like to thank all of our honorable speakers for their willingness to share with us their knowledge and experience on today's topic, tips and tricks for winning FRGS grants. And I'm sure has opened up our view and given us some ideas on how you want to secure a grant, especially on FRGS. I also would like to thank all participants for spending your time with us today. Before we say goodbye, let us immortalize this session by switching on your camera. Please, technical team, kindly assist me with the photo session.
Dia. Weh, ramai ni.
Hi, Dr. Tiru. Thank you for joining. Dr. Ahmed as well. So some family faces.
Okay, hi everyone. Kindly switch on your camera for photography session. I will count to 3. Okay, smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right, thank you.
All right. We will post the attendance list at the Webex chat box when kindly be informed that this will be available for 30 minutes only. Please stay safe and take care of yourself. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you. But before that, I would like to announce our sessions today. We have 98 participants from Webex and we have 35 audience from Facebook Live. In total of 133 participants. I think quite achievement for our first webinar. Would like to have hope more to come in the future for our next seminars. Okay, before I end this session, I would like to invite the speakers, Prof. Dr. Ibrahim Jantan, Associate Professor Chemist Dr. Intan Safina, and Chemist Dr. Fatima to join the breakout session with the Chairman of MNPS, Prof. Dr. Adeni, and the Director of MNPS, Associate Professor Dr. Sharo. And for the research fellow that would like to join the breakout session, kindly PM the host for this purpose. Kindly wait for the breakout session invitation by the host. I think have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you so much for supporting our first MNPS INBIOSIS webinar. Thank you so much. Have a nice weekend.
Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.
Bye-bye, everyone.